The truth about the mysterious ghost ship has been revealed. There are many untold secrets and inexplicable mysteries in this world. For centuries, a ghost ship has been sailing on the oceans, bringing bad luck to any poor soul that sets eyes on it. This ship is the Flying Dutchman, the most notorious and legendary vessel of all time. Not so long ago, scientists announced that they'd solved the enigma of the Flying Dutchman. Only, did they really? Before we set sail on this ghostly adventure, hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to join us on the bright side. On July 11, 1881, the HMS Bacchante was sailing near the shores of Australia. Young Prince George, who was to become King George V 30 years later, and his older brother Prince Albert Victor were on board that ship. At 4 a.m., the crew saw a strange red light in the distance. In that light, the Flying Dutchman appeared on the waves. 13 people witnessed it, but by the time the Bacchante reached the place where the ship had first been spotted, well, there was no sign that a vessel had ever been there. However, a tragedy that struck soon after convinced the seamen that they'd seen the infamous ghost ship. Later that same morning, the crew member who'd first noticed the mysterious vessel fell from the topmast. He didn't survive. There have been other sightings of the Flying Dutchman. Nicholas Montserrat, the author famous for his novel The Cruel Sea, saw the ghost ship in the Pacific Ocean. This happened during World War II, when he was serving as an officer of the Royal Navy. The crew of a German submarine also noticed the Flying Dutchman during the Second World War. This time, the ghost ship was sailing the waters of the Suez Canal. In 1939, inhabitants of Cape Town, South Africa, reported that they'd seen the ship going under full sail. Then, all of a sudden, it disappeared into thin air. And of course, SpongeBob has had his own encounters with the wily ghost named after the mystery ship. Few people know that behind the story of the Flying Dutchman, there was a real ship. According to most sources, it was the vessel of Captain Hendrick van der Decken, who was often called the Dutchman. This ship sank in 1641, but many sailors claim to have seen it afterward, and each time, the encounter served as a bad omen. Captain van der Decken made a dangerous voyage from Holland to the Far East Indies to buy some rare and exotic goods. After several close calls, he finally made it to his destination. The crew made all the necessary repairs while the ship was docked, and then they all set off for home. When they were passing by the southern coast of Africa, the captain realized that it would be a perfect idea to create a settlement next to the Cape of Good Hope. It could give a much-needed rest area for travelers and provide them with a break from the stormy seas. But as the ship was rounding the cape, a powerful gale descended on it. The crew tried to persuade Captain van der Decken to turn around. When they didn't succeed, a rebellion started. But the captain got rid of the leaders and ordered his men to stay the course. However, the ship never did reach the shore. People say that the Flying Dutchman is cursed to sail the seas and oceans forever, and the one to blame for this tragic destiny is Captain van der Decken himself. According to one legend, there was a young couple on board the ship that was going to Holland. The captain took a liking to the girl and got rid of her fiancé. Not surprisingly, this did not help his chances. The broken-hearted lady then disappeared one night. When the ship was close to the Cape of Good Hope, it fell into a terrible storm. Superstitious sailors started to blame their captain, but he announced that nobody would go ashore until they rounded the cape, even if it took ages. And the voice from the sky thundered, "So be it." There are other versions of this legend. For example, according to one of them, the whole crew of the Dutch merchant ship caught a terrible disease. No port agreed to give shelter to the ship because people were afraid that the infection would spread. That's why this vessel, along with its whole crew, is still drifting across the waters. Another legend says that one day, the crew of the Flying Dutchman was hurrying to get home and refused to rescue a sinking ship. This heartless act put a curse on the Dutch ship. According to some people, the ship can rid itself of the curse if the captain goes ashore and finds a girl who will agree to become his wife. Good luck with that. Others believe that there's some magic word that can lift the curse and let the Flying Dutchman and its crew rest in peace. Some seamen are convinced that the ship, led by the immortal Captain Decken, guides other vessels off course. As a result, they crash against reefs or on underwater rocks. But what does modern science have to say about all this talk of ghost ships and curses? Well, all the sightings of the Flying Dutchman can be explained by a phenomenon called Fata Morgana. This is basically a mirage, and it was named after the sorceress Morgan Le Fay, also known as Morgana, that lived in the times of King Arthur. People believe that she used her magic to create mirages of false islands or ghostly castles in the air. This way, she lured sailors to their demise. Fata Morgana happens when light bends due to different air temperatures. The surface of the water provides perfect conditions for the appearance of this anomaly. Have you ever seen a shimmery image over a hot asphalt road? It occurs when heat waves rise from its surface. The same phenomenon takes place in the sea, too. You may notice ships forming in the distance, but it's nothing more than a play of light. As for the Flying Dutchman, its mirage reflects ships that are, in fact, far away, beyond the horizon. The curve of the Earth makes the light bend in just the right way to create this illusion. There are several other types of mirages that can confuse and scare anyone. Take a sundog, for instance. This phenomenon makes bright spots of light appear on one or both sides of the sun. This effect is caused by light passing through ice crystals. It gets refracted through them and looks as if it's coming from different sources. Desert mirage happens when light bends and moves through warmer air that's less dense. Such mirages often appear as bodies of water that lure thirsty travelers. One of the creepiest looking mirages is the Brocken Spectre. This phenomenon was named after the highest peak in Germany's Harz Mountains, so you can assume that this site is reserved just for mountain climbers. What you'd see is a giant humanoid figure that suddenly appears in the haze. But don't worry, that's not an alien ready to abduct you, it's just your own shadow. When the sun shines around a person at high altitudes, it creates a halo-like glow. The shadow seems to be moving due to the movement of clouds. Light pillars are unnaturally huge beams of light shooting up into the sky. This phenomenon also occurs when light gets reflected off ice crystals in the cold air. That's why this anomaly mostly happens in cold climates in the winter. Omega Sun is a mirage that occurs during sunsets. In this case, when the sun is just over the horizon, it takes the shape of the Greek letter omega. The legs of the letter appear when warm water heats the cool air above its surface. This phenomenon is particularly visible when the waters are calm. Well, scientists are probably right. Chances are that Fata Morgana and other visual illusions like it did play tricks on sailors' minds. But what about those cases when witnesses went crazy or lost their lives after encountering the Flying Dutchman? People of science consider these tragedies mere coincidences, or simply the result of psychosomatic trauma that developed when seamen couldn't explain what they'd seen. And what do you believe? Is there really a cursed ghost ship sailing the waters somewhere out there? Or is it just a mirage? Share your theories in the comments below. Remember to give this video a like, share it with your friends, and click subscribe to stay on the bright side of life.